This is part 2 of 2 of the Disney Afternoon Collection series. In part 1, I reminded everyone what the Disney Afternoon programming entailed, and I talked about both Chip and Dale Rescue Rangers games and Tailspin. Today, we're going to go full duck with Darkwing Duck and Ducktales 1 and 2.
We invited an expert team to our laboratory to give us their opinions of Disney's Ducktales video game from Capcom.
Yes! Awesome!
You'll have exciting adventures helping Scrooge McDuck escape danger and become the richest duck in the world.
Cool. Totally hot. Way radical, man! Excellent! It's a quacker! Oh!
Disney's Ducktales Game for your Nintendo Entertainment System by Capcom.
Like the other Disney Afternoon titles, DuckTales is an action platformer with the catchy mechanic of bouncing around on Scrooge McDuck's cane, acting as a pogo stick. You don't have to bounce around everywhere you go on the cane, but you will. The game is all about greed. Scrooge wants to be the world's richest duck, so he travels the globe collecting, or rather stealing, treasure while outwitting his rival, Flint-Heart Glomgold. The game was actually produced by several of the same folks who produced the Mega Man series, and as you'd expect, the controls are tight. You get to pick the stage you start on from the beginning, hey, kinda like Mega Man. You can go to the African mines, complete with mine carts and a bit of a labyrinth to navigate. You can go to the Amazon, full of jungle critters like snakes, spiders, and vicious plants. You can go to Transylvania, where mummies, skeletons, and whatever this is litter the hallways of the castle. The Himalayas, complete with ice, snow spiders, and caves. And finally the moon, which is mostly a spaceship with a few aliens poking around. All in all, the set pieces are variable, with different colors, enemies, and level layouts. The main treasures are protected by stage bosses you must defeat. The bosses can be a little challenging, and practicing each stage a few times before stringing that one successful run is recommended, as you can get a game over from too many deaths. Perhaps the most difficult part of the game is knowing you need to go back to certain stages for certain items in order to advance. You may have a moment of, okay, well, what do I do now, before figuring it out. As you bop around, you'll find other treasures hidden in plain sight, like giant diamonds and even ice cream and cake. The diamonds give you money, the treats improve your health. Characters from the cartoon are sprinkled in too. You'll come across Bubba Duck, Huey, Dewey, Louie, and of course Webby. In the end, you square off against Dracula Duck in the castle and claim some more riches. You're rich. You're a rich duck. We get it. Okay, next up. The sequel follows essentially the same recipe, and you'll encounter the same cast of characters throughout. It's non-linear, allowing you to choose to play the levels in any order, this time using the visualization of a map to show the locations. The controls are the same, but the cane bounce is a little easier to perform, and now the cane can do all sorts of stuff like pull levers and fire cannons. You can still smash stuff with it too, which is always fun. Scrooge can also hang from hooks and take rafts across water, which speaks to the variability in the level design this time around as well. Unlike the first game, in DuckTales 2, Scrooge can return to any level at any time to grab up more treasure like any old greedy duck would, so beating the stage doesn't seal it off. The stages are a little longer, but seem to have less enemies littered about. If you die, instead of being sent back to the beginning of the stage, as in the first, there are checkpoints in these stages. The bosses are much easier here too, at least to me. The strategy is the same, bounce on them a few times and collect their treasure. In the story, Huey finds a piece of an old map and gives it to Uncle Scrooge, who determines it's actually a treasure map drawn by Fergus McDuck, Scrooge's father. Scrooge sets out to find the rest of the map scattered about the different locations in the game, but doesn't realize that his arch-enemy, Flint-Heart Glomgold, is also seeking the same treasure. You can beat the game without finding all the pieces of the map by essentially just beating the bosses. The bosses don't give you the map pieces, just some rare treasures. The map pieces are hidden in each level behind secret walls or in secret chests. Finding all the map pieces for the hidden treasure results in sort of a bonus ending. DuckTales 2 was released in early 1993, which is considered a very late NES title and explains the costly price tag it beckons today if you want the real thing in your collection. It's a more polished game than the first, but not as cherished or remembered.
Attention, St. Cunard super themes are back, and only one hero stands in their way. Darkwing Duck, part of the Disney Afternoon.
Weekdays at 3:30 on Channel 11.
Unfortunately, Darkwing Duck doesn't have the fun mechanic of pogoing around on a cane and is instead just a regular push A to jump platformer. He is armed with a few weapons that come in handy at times though, like a heavy gas attack that attaches to the ground and kills nearby enemies, a thunder attack that shoots lightning at an angle, and an arrow attack that is most useful for getting Darkwing access to some unreachable areas on top of hurting enemies. Honestly, I just stick with the basic attack mostly because it's unlimited and fires faster. As the story goes, crime has hit the streets of St. Canard and it's no secret that the fiendish organization of world larceny, or FOWL, is behind it all. Now it's up to Darkwing to roam the streets, taking out the organization's henchmen and other thugs like the Liquidator, Quackerjack, and Wolf Duck before reaching FOWL's lair to vanquish the ultimate boss, Steelbeak. To start, you get to choose between 3 locations you can complete in any order, not unlike the Ducktales games. Generally, the stages increase in length and difficulty from left to right on the select screen. In each stage, you traipse through a series of platforming obstacles, including of course enemies, moving platforms, and all the standard platforming fare before reaching the boss at the end. The bosses are usually shifty and tricky, and take a number of shots to kill with the standard weapon. If you use all your lives, it's back to starting the stage over again from the beginning, and the stages aren't exactly short. There are 7 total stages. When you complete the first 3, you're able to play another set of 3 before taking on that final stage. The final stage is quite long, and the final boss is a bit of a chore, so good luck. You need to shoot at this window while dodging a pair of drones to get the final boss to even come out to fight. That part is harder than the boss itself. Some parts of the game can be a little challenging, especially when there are lots of enemies on screen that are all seemingly coming after you at once. The real trick is just to keep firing away and inching forward. Eventually you'll get there. You can also press up on the D-pad to use the cape shield as a block. It comes in handy on occasion if you can remember to use it. All in all, the game is fun, presents more of a challenge than the other Disney Afternoon games, looks and sounds nice, but doesn't really stand out as unique, as it really is just a standard recipe platformer. You can't really go wrong with any of these titles. DuckTales 1 and 2 are both great, especially with that addictive pogo mechanic. 2 is a little more polished with longer levels and a more fluid design, but 1 is still the most memorable and is a fine choice. Not to mention, good luck finding 2 for an easy to swallow price. Darkwing is a just fine platformer that presents a just right level of challenge, and the level select ensures you won't be stuck on just one stage for too long. If you need another way to play these, once again, you can check out the Disney Afternoon Collection released in 2017 for the PC, PS4, and Xbox One. WayForward Technologies released a remastered version of the first Ducktales game in 2013 for the PS3, Xbox 360, Wii U, and PC. It utilized a full voice cast, upgraded 2D hand-drawn sprites inside 3D levels, and was very well received. Alright, that does it for the Disney Afternoon games on the NES. Thanks for watching.